Yeah, it was on last time. I don't know why it wasn't loud. Hey, how are you?
I had Jack's post on Facebook. They're trying to get a hold of Graham. She left her phone at Jessica's.
We were getting our nails done.
I'm fine with that, because you and I get along. Yeah, I went and dropped off my bill at City Hall, and I'm done.
We met like twice. Hi. I know your little one. Yeah. I know. She did. Or well, I told her because I was like, did she give me flower or passion? Really? I was at the other school. But she was great. You guys end up working really hard together. I'd rather be with you.
I know.
All good.
And I know soccer also, the boys that she said was hers.
Yeah, the boys have football tonight. And then her husband coaches, so he has something. She's like, yeah, this isn't gonna work.
Lunch or- We also go. We're gonna probably have to be walking.
We're good. We're right up here at the top, so that's good. I feel like we don't have to sit through a lot of this stuff. Under, yeah, up under 1G.
Oh, perfect. But like, I was being debated bringing though, but hopefully, cause there's quite a few of us are here. I felt like.
All passed out, PowerPoint to.
And I feel like, because I didn't use it from the year before when I was the district, so.
Oh, so
So
you
it's
didn't
like
do it
racking
with
my brain, I
us.
was like, so they all got it last year. I don't remember who else was
There
in.
was like a lot. There was like
Jen Steele was in that group.
yeah, Kara. I don't know if it was Kara. Heather. Liddy. From she works at Princeton. I moved her. I'll see if I have her. She was over there.
No, I think they're totally fine, and then that way when you're ready to go, you can just.
Mama will get you.
No, the only thing I hope is.
Actually, I brought a picture of my classroom. I passed out like for all of you. Because there's something going on for the next part of my class.
I don't know yet. Day one, I was like, no. And day two, he was toned down a little bit. Did you watch today?
I'm not really. I'm full.
That's really not exciting. They brought the writers back.
They brought the gold.
Yeah, they fired him and then they brought him back. That was like when Martin left and everything. They had him on the old one, and now they brought him back, and all these new people are coming back.
I read it.
Watch today's episode, because he's probably coming back. Sam, they fired her. She's being
Hi, good, how are you?
Yes, watch today's episode. Watch today's episode. Okay, so I've read different things. One, something goes wrong in the surgery. Okay, so that's what you should. Why is she being?
Yesterday, I
Rumor has it that she didn't take the pay cut. So they, when they wanted to bring all these big names back, they had to like cut everybody's salary. She did take the pay cut. She put hers down on her
Hello.
Win.
Yep.
I didn't think you guys were gonna pull it out. I got a little nervous.
I didn't think we were gonna win
I got a
either,
little nervous.
especially after Izzy had to leave.
Got a little nervous. And I'm like, all right, they're gonna have the ball last. Maybe they'll score. Some of those girls are freaking. They should run track. If
I
they
know.
don't, they're missing the boat. Skirta.
Yeah.
That Oscar.
Savannah, she was the kicker for JV football a couple years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
How is Izzy?
She's okay.
What's she doing? She crushing?
She has crutches and like a brace on her leg, but she has to get an MRI. They
Or
didn't do that.
They went. Yeah, they can't do that at
Yeah.
the hospital. Who did she go see?
I
Did she go to the emergency room?
yeah, she went to the ER.
Oh yeah, you don't get anything done at the emergency.
No, she got an X-ray,
Yeah, that.
but that doesn't.
It just tells her it's not broken.
Yeah.
Which we already knew.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was emailing back and forth with Savali.
Mm-hmm.
And he didn't, he said, she's fine. All right, thanks, Tony.
She can't really get up, but she's okay.
She's just so worked up.
Yeah,
She
I know.
She couldn't relax.
Yeah.
Even Damien was like, I can't do anything with you
Yeah.
if you don't chill
It just
out.
freaked her out.
Yeah. Straight, how are you, sir? Good, how are you?
Will you turn my mic on for me again when it's time? Thank you.
I'm gonna make sure it's hooked up so it can be turned on.
All right, I'd like to welcome all to this evening's regular board meeting of the Lakeview Public Schools Board of Education. Today, Tuesday, October 15th, 2024, 7:30 p.m. at the boardroom at the Wheat Educational Campus. Two items before we get started. First is Ms. Taylor will not be in attendance tonight for some personal reasons, and at our place this evening is a revised personnel agenda item. Moving on with the agenda, I'd like to call the attention of the board of the minutes of the regular meeting of September 17, 2024.
Mr. President, I move for approval.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, motion carries. Madam Secretary, have we any public communication this evening?
I do not.
All right, moving on to Board of Education and Administration comments. Well, it was quite an event about, 3 weeks ago now at the new athletic field at the high school for the homecoming game. The stands were packed, the new bleachers were packed, the other side had a pretty good crowd as well. We won that game, which was nice for the kids. Yeah, a very nice job by all that were involved, administration and staff. It was wonderful to see all the staff that were present there as well to help keep things calm and monitor behavior. So that was a great experience, at least I thought so as well. And thank you to the administration and to all the staff that were involved there to make sure that it was a good event. To that end, driving down 11 Mile Road about a week and a half ago on a Sunday, it was drizzling out, and there was quite a mess in the parking lot by the high school. Yes, there were little ones playing football and, doing what they do on a Sunday, but the parking lot was a mess. People were parking in places they shouldn't be parking. Traffic could not get in and out. Both sides of the road going in and out by the cafeteria, vehicles were all parked there. Heaven forbid if we had any sort of a fire emergency or anything in the buildings, fire equipment wouldn't be able to get in because there was too much traffic. So I guess the ask here is, is there something we can do as far as, pavement markings or signage for at least the first 100 feet going in and out both sides to have it marked no parking, so that if necessary, the police department has more latitude to say, well, it's posted, you shouldn't be parking here, and at least the parents or whoever these students are to watch their kids. I get it, parking can be a hassle at times, but we do have a lot of parking the other side of the high school by the auditorium, outside the building here, as well as the parking lot I'm talking about. So, I do have concerns about that kind of traffic. So, Mr. Zaborowski, I know you and I had a brief discussion on that. Has there been any more?
No, as I shared with you, Mr. Dombrowski, Ani Garfola, who is our site manager for Green Hornets football, she had asked the folks who were parking there, which were not part of the Green Hornets organization, was a visiting team, tell them you cannot park there, and they just basically shut their doors and walked in, and, Bonnie's not going to tackle them and make them move their car. But she informed them that if they left them there, I'm going to call the police and you're going to get ticketed. So I know the SCSPD were out and they were writing tickets, but I will also have a conversation with the Green Hornets president and their board to let them know that, this has risen to the level of just me complaining about the things that I see they need to correct, and it's reached the level Board of Education. They need to do a little bit more of, proactive work in that parking lot, and if they need people to help manage the lot, they have to figure that out, because anybody who's been to a football game at Lakeview High School, we don't have that problem with people parking in that parking lot. We have a pretty well-oiled machine on who we're letting in and how we're going to manage those lots. So it's not that difficult to do. So I will definitely follow up with them and let them know that this has, been brought to a public forum, that we have concerns with it, so.
And then you go around the back of the high school through that same lot around the pool area, and you'll find cars parked along the fence. There's no parking signs right above them, and yet the vehicles are all parked there. That's not a good image either. So, but speaking to the entrance in and off of 11 Mile Road, is there anything we can do as far as curb marking, signage to reinforce the fact that there should be no parking there? Could that be deemed a fire lane?
We can stripe it, but we still have, there's an asphalt approach would be on the, kind of the northeast side of that entrance coming in off of 11 Mile. That needs to be repaired, needs to be concrete, and then we are redoing that approach. So until we get both of those done, I'm hesitant to put any type of marking, stripings in until that lot is completely finished. But yes, we can put the hash marks that say no parking. I mean, that's real simple. It's close enough. We don't even have to paint the curb. We can just hash it out, put no parking in there, and it's pretty clear if you're parked in a hashed area, it's going to be no parking area.
Could that entrance and exit be deemed a fire lane along those curbs?
I mean, that's I guess that would be our property to determine that. I mean, we can say whatever we want on there, but I think if we hash it and put no parking in that hashed area, I think we're covered. I mean, Detective Jockman, is that accurate?
I'd say so. As far as the fire lane thing, I'd have to confirm that with the fire department on what they would consider fire lane when it comes to that private lot, what they have to have access to. But, I mean, we've had problems with that before, Mr. Zaborowski, we had to call a patrol car out just to issue tickets for other than intended, and they're parking handicap and parking in the line spaces, so I don't see why it would be any different.
Okay. Yeah, it's a safety thing. If we can't get an ambulance in there for some reason, or can't get the fire trucks in there for whatever reason, time is of the essence in some of those situations. So, all right, thank you. Any other comments?
Let's touch base on that. On this street also, where the cut-through is, are we putting signage there for parking on this street? Because there was a lot of people, I heard a lot of people were parking there too, on the street.
Talking about Burnout Alley?
Yeah, through that. Yeah, exactly.
That's been called all these years.
That one exactly.
That's, I guess, I'll share this. That's a public street. That is something that we don't manage. We don't manage public streets. As I shared with a couple of residents that I've spoken with, I can't do anything if someone's parking in front of your house during a school day, football game. If they're legally parked on a public street, I'm sorry, there's nothing that we can do. So I don't know if there's anything that Lakeview can do to say no parking on a public street. I mean, it took us 15 years to get a no left turn sign off of Rockwood because of, what do they call it, traffic studies?
Yeah.
So there's really nothing that we can do. We can encourage people, we tell them, we can encourage kids to park in the parking lot, park anywhere else, but people are going to park where they want to park, and if they're legally parked, nothing, I have no control over that.
And it took minutes to put a no right turn sign out of the parking lot coming out of here onto Yale.
I don't even think we had signed the lease on it, it was already up there.
Any other comments?
Yes, I've got a comment. Kudos to Mr. Lynn and his team on the audit, which we'll hear about a little later. Another clean audit, so.
Anything else? Nope.
I got a couple of things
Oh,
for
that's
you.
right, I'm sorry.
You know, since our last meeting, and I'm sure we're going to hear a whole bunch of things from our student rep, but, you know, a lot of events that have occurred, some of those put on by staff, some of those put on by PTOs, some of those athletic events, other fundraising events and activities for kids to get to know the principal, get to know, his teachers, and those, so thanks to all of the staff and the parent PTO groups and our administrators for hosting those types of events, because it starts the school year off on a real positive note. And those things lead to, more positivity, I guess, throughout the year. And we did our own little exercise. I know those that were at the parade of the board probably saw my video camera guy running around with me. He was in the district the whole day, literally until 8 p.m. And they have produced a little promotional video as a sampling of what we were hoping to have them develop. And we're just going to play it right now for everybody's viewing pleasure. If we get her to go here, if we can get it to work. No, there you go, blinking.
There you go.
Life's good. Yep. There you go.
You're up.
Not yet.
Not yet.
There we go. Well, no
It's a
signal.
Monet artistic rendering.
Good screensaver.
It's been this way.
Says
Both spots. Yeah, both screens.
That HDMI 1.
HDMI 1, yes.
We always use this over here, not that. Yeah.
we don't hear volume yet.
Who's Lake 6?
Oh, the volume's not on.
Oh, it's muted on the bottom of the corner of the
Bottom
screen.
right here?
Oh, on the computer?
Yeah. And then you just unmute it.
There you go. It's over there.
Could you turn it up a bit?
I think it's coming from here.
It's not coming from the sound system, yeah.
It's coming.
I don't think it's coming on TV.
If you hit escape on that, and then click on the volume on the bottom right.
I can't hear you.
If you click on the bottom, or the volume thing in the bottom right, yep. And then you can change the output. I think if you click on the,
Oh,
look
yeah,
at it.
that's right. Inside and
Yep.
outside of the district.
From early learning to graduation, Lakeview shapes futures with a foundation of
I'll
innovation,
rewind it.
community, and
And then, yeah.
That's it.
Oh.
Here at Lakeview Public Schools, so we are a family here, we work together as one.
I'm sorry.
Welcome to Lakeview Public Schools, where education is more than just classrooms and textbooks. It's a journey. Here, every student finds their path, their passion.
We can hear it, they can't hear it, they can just see it.
Lakeview was my life. I was born and raised here in St. Clair Shores. I went kindergarten through 12th grade. I've been teaching here now for 29 years. Lakeview's the best place to be.
The involvement of the district community, they're really good with social emotional support and the connection of families and community inside and outside of the district.
From early learning to graduation, Lakeview shapes futures with a foundation of innovation, community, and care.
This is my 13th year here at Lakeview Public Schools. So we are a family here. We work together as one.
I couldn't pick a better place for my child to go to school.
Shoot.
Circle of death. Weren't we gonna be upgrading some of our technology? here?
Wi-Fi upgrade, what?
It's there, it's getting there.
It's not loading. We don't use this much because we use that out there for meetings and things, you know.
A really
It-
nice commercial.
it
when you
is.
see it.
It's true.
Imagine all the great things that.
Mhm. And then we let it load and then we can watch it after. Where she's from, so maybe.
That's not loading at all.
It's not going very fast.
Well, fuck, we can skip it and move on. It's pretty good. Yeah, the whole leadership team watched it today, and they were really pretty impressed. It's like packages up a lot of good things, and there's a whole bunch of visual in it that is throughout the day because there happen to be so many events going on throughout the district that we could grab. You know, the Ardmore Husky hike was happening during the day. We had some pictures in the preschool, shots in the middle school, you know, so we have the totality of the district in sort of 3 minutes. And it's pretty well done, so we'll send you a link too, so you can watch it in your leisure. Anybody else?
Anybody else, anything to share, administration?
I guess I would just share, last week we had conferences at the high school, which I'm sure will be in your report. But I want to say it was really great. They, moving around that high school over the course of the 2 days, we had many more parents who were choosing in person over virtual. So that kind of is swinging back after COVID, and it was really nice to see people in the building, having parents have a chance to talk with teachers about all the great things that kids are doing. So very, very nice kickoff with conferences.
Awesome. Any other comments? No more? All right, moving on the agenda to the student representative report. Ms. McDade, good evening.
Good evening. So as Mrs. Van Buren just said, each school in our district is working through parent-teacher conferences. Conferences are a great way to get parents actively involved in their students' education. Every school in our district has been very busy the past few weeks. First, the Wheat Early Childhood Center. They had a visit from the St. Clair Shores Fire Department a few weeks ago. The preschoolers got to learn all about fire safety and got to ask questions and see the inside of the fire truck. Their ECSE classes walked to Nino Salvaggio's for a tour, and parents and students enjoyed this time together. 2 weeks ago, they held their first trunk or treat event for early students and families. There were roughly 250 students in attendance with their families. They will also be hosting their first ever Scholastic Book Fair this year. GSRP and tuition preschool classes will also go to Upland Hills Farm. They will have almost 500 students, parents, and staff attend this field trip. This is always a memorable day of fun and learning for everyone. Of course, the preschoolers are very excited for Halloween. The preschoolers will parade along the sidewalk and through the administration side of the building on the day of Halloween. Now, Princeton Elementary. On October 4th, they held their annual fun run, where they raised just under $76,000. It was a beautiful day, and they had such a great time. They're looking forward to the Fall Fun Fest on Saturday, November 2nd. In the coming weeks, Princeton will be hosting its launch of the Watchdogs program, which stands for Dads of Great Students. This is a nationwide program where adult male role models come together to volunteer in the schools and support students. They enjoyed this program very much before COVID and look forward to the upcoming launch. Now, Greenwood. Greenwood has been focusing on revamping their PBIS program and kicked it off with their first all-school assembly, where students were reminded of the core values: respect, responsibility, and safety. One of their exciting new incentives is the Masked Mascot program, where students demonstrating these values can apply to wear the Grizzly mascot and be revealed during the morning broadcast. This acts as a fun way to celebrate positive behavior. Greenwood is also looking forward to the upcoming Harvest Fest and Trunk or Treat on October 18th. Additionally, teachers are thrilled with the incredible support from the PTO. Thanks to the money raised through last year's fun run, they were able to purchase a new laminator and poster maker for staff use. and they're excited for what this year's fundraising will bring. Harmon Elementary. Harmon's Hawk Walk raised over $8,500. To celebrate this success, Mr. Wiggle has been pied in the face by Mrs. Fenn's third grade class, who raised the most money, $1,376. Harmon hosted McTeacher Night on Thursday, October 10th. Harmon staff manned the drive-thru, ice cream machine, sold pies, worked the register, and ran a McDonald's for 3 hours. It was a very busy 3 hours, and they were able to raise $1,300 for Harmon scholars. The dining room and drive-thru were jammed with participants and community members. Harmon staff recently completed data meetings with all grade-level teams to prepare for the MTSS support for all scholars. Academic specialists led data-driven conversations and created action plans to support scholars. Schedules and interventions will be next as they provide scholars the best support to grow academically. Looking ahead, Harmon will host their annual trunk or treat on Friday, October 18th, and a great skate event on Wednesday, November 6th. Now on to Ardmore Elementary. This year's PTO Husky Hike raised just over $30,000. This is a new record. The funds have been budgeted to directly support teachers, classrooms, and students. This includes providing low-cost or no-cost entry to their Fall Fest and Spring Fling, as well as covering bus costs for field trips and supplemental supplies for the classroom. Speaking of the Fall Fest, the PTO is busy preparing for this upcoming event, which will feature food trucks, trunk-or-treating, crafts, and lots of fun activities for the whole family. Their focus this month at Ardmore is kindness, which ties into the second step lessons being taught across the classrooms. They're also holding a Kindness Spirit Week this week to help reinforce this important trait throughout the school community. Ardmore's student data benchmark meetings ran very smoothly. The teams of teachers, interventionalists, coaches, and specialists have been quickly identifying and addressing targeted student academic needs. Finally, Ardmore's teachers are showing their dedication to the new elementary math curriculum. While it's been a lot to learn and plan for, the students are truly benefiting from this enhanced instruction. Jefferson Middle School. The sixth graders are eagerly awaiting sixth grade camp, which is October 28th through the 30th. They have the support of Lakeview High School students who will attend camp as chaperones. JMS, ELA, and math teachers and students are enjoying their new curricular tools. Students are engaged in lessons both in the classroom and through their digital platforms. Next month, on November 8th, JMS will be hosting their annual Veterans Day breakfast, where they will take time to honor those who serve and have served our country. With guest speakers, band and choir performances, a catered breakfast, as well as a parade around the building where veterans are met with the applause and gratitude of all staff and students at JMS. Last is Lakeview High School. The new athletic facility was put to the test on September 20th with the first football game and homecoming. Over 2,000 people were in attendance, and the facility withstood the grand opening very well. The homecoming dance was also a success with over 900 students in attendance. This year, we are bringing back the big game. On October 14th, yesterday, LHS hosted the Class of 2025 versus the Class of 2026 Powder Puff football game. The game gave both classes the opportunity to raise funds for each of their respective classes. Although the juniors began the game with a lead, the seniors' determination allowed them to secure the win, the final score being 18-13. On October 22nd, the Class of 2025 Powder Puff team will take on Lakeshore. This game will be at Lakeshore and start at 6:30 p.m. For this event, we will split the proceeds between Lakeshore Senior Class and Lakeview Senior Class. The end of the first marking period is October 25th. Overall, the month of October should continue to be a successful and exciting month for Lakeview Public Schools. Thank you.
Another great review. Here we are 6 weeks into it, and we are in full swing. Nice report. A lot of things happening in all the buildings, and, for those parents that are close to some of the elementary buildings to support some of their fall festivities going on, that would be great. So, good stuff. Any questions of our student rep this evening? Comments, concerns? Nope. Great. Thank you very much. All right, moving on to perfect attendance recognition.
This evening, we would like to recognize our staff who had perfect attendance in the last school year. The following personnel are being recognized for perfect attendance during the 23-24 school year. And we have a number of people listed. but we only have a few that are here, so those are the folks that we'd like to call forward when I call your name. So Sean Zaborowski, that's you.
Can you just pass it down?
No. All right. Melissa McMurdy. All right. Good job. And Carl Paulson.
No. Come around the front like the rest of us,
And I don't think I missed anybody else who came this evening. Those folks who weren't able to be here this evening, though, we will make sure that they receive their certificates and their recognition. So thank you.
Yes, good stuff. Commitment. Thank you. Moving on to tenure, item G, tenure.
The following teachers have successfully completed their probationary period leading to tenure with Lakeview Public Schools. This evening, the Board of Education and Administration would like to recognize the following teachers. Here this evening is Jennifer Finkmeyer. Yep, you come on up. Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Yes. Eric Julian was supposed to be here, but I didn't see him this evening. Okay. Jennifer Pico. Renee Sobchak. Congratulations. Jessica Vaughn. Congratulations. And I don't think anyone else is here this evening, but once again, we will make sure that they receive their recognition. And for those of you who don't know what's in the box, it is a very nice Lakeview watch. So we will make sure they get those as well. Congratulations.
Congratulations to all of our perfect tenure.
Tenure.
Our tenure recipients. All right, moving on to item 8, the 2023-2024 audit presentation by Yo and Yo.
As the board knows, every year at this time, we have the process is required with all of our public schools to have an independent third-party auditor complete a review of our finances and our books. And Jennifer Watkins from Yo and Yo is here to summarize that for the whole board. We did have a subcommittee review of this for probably a solid hour, going through it in detail. So, Jennifer?
Financial numbers, clear room real quick. I love them, but yeah, so we did meet last week and went over it in detail. So tonight I will just be showing you the highlights in the PowerPoint that you guys have. You also did receive final copies of the regular audit, the single audit, and there is a governance letter, like a loose letter in the larger report in there as well. But we will hit the highlights on the PowerPoint. So starting, I think, second slide in goes over the audit procedures. And I definitely won't describe everything, but we do spend a lot of time, I don't know if this is even on, but I talk loud. Internal controls at the first part, seeing what the process is, how does a check go through this, everything that happens, doing financials, receipts, payroll, how is that process handled, making sure it's handled properly. And then from that, setting our procedures. We always do something unpredictable every year, and I'm sure a lot of what we did might have been unpredictable this year, having a new person in the business office. But even so, we always add an extra procedure, something different every year, depending on maybe grants or vendors, payroll. We always pick something new because a lot of what we do ask for is the same every year. It's just how an audit is. And other than that, there is a ton of testing that gets done with school districts. You guys have to be under governmental auditing standards. You're also under your federal grant compliance. For every single grant, there is different compliance requirements. And then the state also has their own manual that I actually sit on that committee at the state to write that manual, and they have their own set of requirements for you. So there's a lot of reporting and a lot of testing that we're doing while we're out here auditing. The next page goes over your overall audit results. Your financial statements, you did receive an unmodified opinion. You also had no material weaknesses, no significant deficiencies noted. The single audit as well, you both had, there's 2 reports in there, both were unmodified. And we tested this year with your single audit the child nutrition cluster, which was a little bit nice. We've had to do ESSER for the past few years. That was required by the federal government, so we got to switch it up. Also, no material weaknesses, no material non-compliance noted in your single audit. So overall, a clean report, no findings, unmodified opinions. The next slide goes over your governance letter. These are just snippets out of the governance letter. That governance letter is 5 pages long. It's a lot of accounting information, but these are the highlights. So significant risk with your audit, we have to determine what those are. We have management override of controls and improper revenue recognition. Then other required communication to the board is disagreements with management or difficulties in performing the audit, and we had none. We also had no uncorrected misstatements and no audit adjustments. So overall, clean bill. That would be if she was maybe getting information, maybe disagreements with how something should be handled, or large entries being made, and if that was the case, we would let the board know, but we had none. We did have one comment. This is a compliance item, and it's excess food service fund balance. So this is a repeat issue. I shouldn't even say issue, but it's a repeat comment from last year, but it is an issue with the entire state of Michigan right now. So with COVID, the federal government gave more money per pupil for every lunch and breakfast. They increased that number. And also more kids are having lunch because now they're free, and now we have the Michigan School Meals Program. So pretty much, I think I see our office does about 80 plus 85 schools, and a good majority of those have this right now. The state is aware of it. They're working with you. The Office of Nutrition at the state of Michigan is well aware, and your guys' isn't too significant, and I think you already have some purchases planned. It was a timing issue too of when they hit. So just to let you know it's out there, but it's a common issue, and the funds just have to be spent within the food service program over the next year or so. The next couple slides are snippets out of your balance sheet, and these are over your regular funds that you budget on a regular basis. So your major funds this year are general fund, and then you have the 22 capital project funds, your other capital project fund, and then everything else in your non-major is all your other smaller funds. So your special revenue, food service, and student activities, and then your debt, and there's a very small capital projects fund also within there. This is a snippet of time as of June 30th, 2024. So a lot of items are accrued back for summer. So July and August state aid is accrued back for payment, any outstanding grants, also things like summer pay for teachers and related benefits. So your total assets were $44.8 million, and that's for all funds. General fund was $22 million of that. And then all funds liabilities is the almost 4 million, and total general fund was about 11.3 of that. And the majority of that was those summer pay, including benefits, and then unearned revenue, which is grants that have been received but not spent. Below that is your overall fund balances. On the next slide, your total fund balance for the district for all funds was 29.4 million. A good majority of that was actually capital project fund dollars that is restricted or committed for those capital project funds. So that was about 15 million of that was for capital projects, and then about 10.7 of that is for general fund. The next slide hits on those same funds, but just the overall revenues, expenditures, change in fund balance. You can kind of see where everything ended. I'll highlight a couple things. General fund had an increase of 610,000, and the bond project, as you would expect, was spent down by 12.1 million. The next slide goes over your budget to actual. It shows the original budget approved by the board, final, and then what was actual from the audit. Your final budget had an increase of 111,000 to the ending fund balance. Your actual was at 610,000. You can see your difference column, your percentages were extremely low, both revenue was about 2% under, and your expenses were about 3% under. So very, very close to budget, plus you kept those expenditures under, which I like to highlight. I had another board meeting earlier today, and they had a finding because that was a positive number in expenditures. So according to the state and the uniform budgeting and accounting guidance, your expenditures actual always must be under your final budget. So you want to see a negative in that line, and that's what you see. So very good. The next two slides are charts, just to put the information in a little bit different way. This one highlights kind of where your revenue comes from. It's only general fund. So you can see local and state together, 89%. So that's really FTE driven by per pupil. There's also some restricted state grants in there, but most of it is that per pupil driven revenue. The next slide goes over expenses, also same information from before, but shown a little different. This shows breakdown by object of expenditures, general fund, and you can see that obviously salaries and benefits is where the majority of it is, which you would expect at the 81%. You can see benefits, I think if you calculate it out, it's about 73 cents or about 60% probably to every dollar that's spent for salaries is also put into benefits. The next slide goes over your 10-year enrollment trend, and as auditors do and accountants, we like to show trends and analysis, but this shows your enrollment over the last 10 years, and it does show that you've had increases with some dips and ups, but overall, since 2015, you have been increasing slightly from the 3960 in 2015 to just over 4,200 the last 2 years. And on that same note, the next slide is your fund balance. Same thing, 10-year trend. And following your student count, your fund balance has also been increasing for the last 10 years with some dips for maybe some for 1 year, but overall the 10 years increasing. So in 2015, you were at 671,000. That would probably put you in a financial distress district. And now you are at a healthy fund balance of 10.6 million. And you can see too, the last 3 to 4 years, obviously with ESSER, it has been an uptick due to that as well. The next slide is your fund balance as percentages, just to show what those are. You have, the first one is what the state uses to test your percentage. And the second one is just what used to be common before the state changed it and what is used by a lot of districts. So 22% as fund balance as a percent of unrestricted revenues in 2024. And both of them are very close to last year. You had a minimal increase this year. Fund balance as compared to expenditures is about 17% for both years. The next slide just highlights a few items. I won't go over all of them. It mentions that food service fund balance, just things to deal with. You guys are getting a lot of new state dollars that are coming that have restrictions. They're just hitting you every day, I feel like, at least in June and July. New grant programs that have compliance requirements with no cost for admin or to figure out how it should be handled. They're great that you guys are getting that revenue, but it's a lot of challenges for the audit and business offices to keep track of all those new funds. I think we were up to section 27 I don't know, but the state's making changes all the time that you guys have to keep up on, and just long-term planning with those ESSER funds going away. And then next year, we're gonna have a new standard like always. This year was 100 and next year is 101. So they like to keep us on our toes, but they have some changes to compensated absences coming. And other than that, that's all I had. Overall clean, good audit. Jordan Bollinger's the manager on this, and he works on our education team with me, that I'm the leader of for Yo and Yo, and he's amazing. And he said the audit went great. And for Eric's first year here, he did a great job too. It's hard to transition into this, both with schools and with coming on to do an audit for the first time. So I think it went really well, and it's a clean report, so that's what you want to see.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much for your time this evening. Does anybody have any comments on this, questions?
I know, I will say that a couple of our team members are here tonight as a part of this audience, and Eric's come on board. I was very happy when that happened. 5 months of subbing that role is enough for me near the end of my life in schools, and he's jumped in right away and brought a lot of fresh perspective, and then filling out the team with Melissa being on board now, and Tony getting, squared away with his role too, that has allowed this team to really start being more proactive and not just jumping through all the hoops that the state throws at us. And people are, have some good set of skills that's combining to make that office really run smooth. So I'm appreciative of that on behalf of the district.
Oh, absolutely. That's, having good staff around you makes things work well. And to that end, thank you to the staff for all the extra time and effort that's been put into this. And Mr. Lynn, thank you for your attentiveness to bring this home for us this evening. So good stuff. Thank you.
One last little happy comment to the relationship of this outcome. This 17+% fund balance status ends up yielding a reward for all of our staff because of the way the master agreements are written and employee contracts that will allow for the district to distribute a fund balance stipend that we worked into the contracts quite a few years ago. And the status of where it is means it's a 2% distribution. So the end of this month's payroll, I think we're going to be able to time it so that those folks are going to see that in their direct deposits the end of the month.
Do you recall what it was last year?
2%.
2%.
Yeah. 1% the year before that.
Thank you.
Over 15%, and then the other threshold is over 9%.
Cool.
And the board's policy on fund balance is a goal of making sure we're 8 to 12%. Many years ago, that was established. And obviously now we're above that, partly because of the way federal grants and all the other things surrounding those have come along. And we were very careful and prudent about how we utilize those. Much of those dollars were spent on one-time purchases, not on ongoing costs. And in some districts where they had a lot of ongoing costs, like people, they're now in the position of having to have tough conversations after they hear the news of, the money's gone, so how are you going to pay for that? So that's a, full team effort of thanks, because we program around the rules and know the long-term thoughts about how to staff that or not staff that. So good time, good outcome.
Good news.
Thanks, Jennifer.
Thank you, Ms. Watkins. Take care. Have a good evening. Any other comments from the board on this? No? All right, we'll move on to general. 2023-2024 audit report and financial statements.
Just real quick too, before we begin, and I give color to kind of what Jennifer presented, I just wanted to express my appreciation for being able to inherit just a fantastic team that I have. Melissa, Tony, Brian, and Audrey, who weren't here tonight, and then also, Carl, Tracy, the board, some of the leadership that's here tonight too, for taking the time to, there's no such thing as a dumb question, and taking the time to teach me, being new, to the school environment. So I'm very appreciative of that. So I didn't want to, not say that. So from a comment perspective, Jennifer from Yo & Yo, our auditing firm, they completed their independent audit for the district's financial records for 2023-24's fiscal year. We had a finance subcommittee last week where we reviewed everything that Jennifer discussed. The district completed their fiscal year with the government funds, which she had mentioned. There's combined balance funds of about $29,430,000. Which is a slight decrease of about $10.6 million. This was from us spending down some of the grant funds that we had, not grant funds, but the bond funds. Series 2, roughly about $13.3 million. And over the last year, Lakeview Public Schools revised its budget in an attempt to deal with unexpected changes in revenues and expenditures that the state law requires that the budget be amended to ensure expenses, as Jennifer said, did not exceed available funds to appropriate. The final amendment to the budget was adopted slightly before year end. A schedule showing Lakeview Public Schools general fund and final budget amounts compared with the amounts actually paid and received was provided with the supplemental materials that you guys all received from Jennifer, along with the PowerPoint. For 23-24, Lakeview Public Schools experienced rising inflationary pressure and increased costs for utilities, supplies, personnel benefits, which are ongoing challenges, which we've been aware of for quite a while. But in response, we've adopted proactive financial approaches, and we're always kind of looking ahead years in advance so that we're kind of ahead of the curve in that regard. The majority of the bond construction projects for 2020 to 2025 are near completion. You'll see the rest of them kind of wrap up throughout the rest of this year. These enhancements include modernization of facilities, upgraded infrastructure, safety improvements, expanded use of technology, expanded resources that create an overall better learning environment for students and staff. Through our prudent fiscal management, the district has successfully set aside since 2020 about $6.1 million for capital projects. This careful planning will enable us to support student technology, the one-on-one initiative addressing immediate technology needs while covering essential repairs and other site improvements and projects that will be in the future. At the end of the day, this yielded a net increase in our fund balance for capital projects of about $1.795 million, closing the year with a total fund balance of about $4.3 million. There's other district funds outside of the general funds. We had the food service funds, which we had talked about. We had an increase of about $68,000 to close the year with a fund balance of about $885,000. This is when Jennifer talked about us spending down. This is the balance that we're going to try to get down this year and probably continuing into the following year. This yielded, I already talked about it, the efforts being made to align expenditures with state requirements while continuing to enhance food service and quality and accessibility. Student activities funds, so this is kind of what Abigail was talking about when we raised money with Princeton, had a increase in its fund balance of about $36,000, closing the year with a fund balance of about $432,000. Our debt service bond fund has a net increase of about $501,000, closing the year with total debt fund balance of $1.67 million. And then earlier this evening, Jennifer Watkins of Yo presented a summary of the audit report and financial statements to the Board of Education and is available to address any questions, although she just left. Accordingly, the administration now recommends that the board accept the 22-23 financial statements, audit report, supplemental information to the financial statements, and a single audit report for federal awards as presented.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education accept the financial statements, audit report, and supplemental information to the financial statements and the single audit report for federal awards for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024, as presented.
Support.
Okay, and we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Personnel, item A, changes in personnel. At our places this evening is an updated sheet on the agenda item.
Tonight, administration is bringing forward the following changes in personnel since the last presentation to the Board of Education on September 17th. New hire, Dawn Garrett, Lakeview High School part-time cashier helper. Retirements, Richard Nelson, Lakeview High School teacher. Mark Zimmerman, Lakeview High School teacher, both effective December 31st. After school, high school credit recovery teachers, Julie Meyer and Shane Smith. Schedule B returning coach and sponsor, Jody Thompson, Lakeview High School concert band director.
Mr. President, I recommend that the Lakeview Board of Education approve the changes in personnel as presented.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Ms. Martin, support by Mr. Asia. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Have we any new hires this evening?
We do not.
See, I remembered.
You did remember, you did good.
All right, moving on to B, teacher master agreement revisions.
In the spring of 2024, Michigan Public Act 224 and 225 identified changes in the law regarding various items, including teacher evaluation. The law required these items to be negotiated between districts and their unions. As a result, Lakeview administration and the association worked collaboratively over the last 6 months to negotiate revisions to the current collective bargaining agreement language in the required areas. Therefore, administration is bringing forward a recommendation to approve the attached tentative agreement with the bargained revisions to Article 9, teacher evaluation language.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the tentative agreement with the revisions as listed for the Lakeview teachers represented by the MEA-NEA Local 1 Lakeview.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Mr. Asia. Discussion on the motion. Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to bond implementation. Bid pack number 6, change order, emergency notification system, additional hardware installation.
Tonight, administration is recommending increase of contract through change order to bid package number 6, the Blue Point Emergency Notification System, which is to be funded from the 2022 Bond Fund and/or Capital Projects Fund. In March of 2021, the Board of Education approved Shoreline Power Services for installation of the Blue Point Emergency Notification System throughout all 7 buildings within the districts. Since that time, administration has continued to evaluate the system for effectiveness and against our program unique needs. In response, previous work in this regard uncovered the need for improvements to the speaker and PA systems throughout the districts, and more recently, administration identified the need for additional hall pole stations, interior and exterior strobes, and remote activation pendants. These requests have been made after evaluating lockdown drills by building and district administrators, teachers, and other staff. Administration met with Barton Mallow Builders to develop detailed location maps for each building of the current and additional items that were being identified. After completion of these maps with new safety features identified, Administration directed Barton Malibu Builders to engage Shoreline Power Services, the contractor for bid package 6, to provide pricing based on the new items which were requested. Shoreline provided pricing, which were reviewed by Barton Malibu Builders and found to be in line with our original scope of work and several recent projects bid around the area. Therefore, it is recommended the board approve a contract increase via change order to Shoreline Power Services for bid package number 6 in the amount of $117,200. And representatives from Barton Malibu Builders are here tonight to answer any questions the board may have.
I want to just add one thing. At your seat, you got a new copy of this packet that was the backup. And the reason you did is, for whatever reason, however this happened, you don't actually see all the locations of the things that are being placed, because this version that you had in your original packet didn't capture the locations of where new pull stations, that was what this was intended to do for you. Because you see 100 and some different things throughout the district. So each one of the pages really looks like this, with all these circles and arrows and comments. And what you had originally, it doesn't have all of that. So I wanted you to see those. So you could take the one you have in your original packet and just
Pitch it.
and take the new one that I left at the table. It says corrected on the front. That was probably just an Adobe difference. And I noticed it this afternoon when I was putting my book together. Because I had one original that was different from what was in an email connection, attachment. So that's all.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the contract increase via change order to Shoreline Power Services for bid package number 6, emergency notification system, in the amount of $117,200 as presented.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion.
I have a question.
I do too. Go ahead.
Are they gonna fix the broken Blue Point signs in the building? Is that included in it?
It is not. This is only for new install, but we have attic stock of items that have been broken that we can install. We can maybe ask them if they'd be willing to do it, to give them the stock.
I have a question. When this was originally designed years ago, who did the design of this?
Blue Point?
Blue Point?
Yep.
This is that Shoreline Power?
No. Shoreline is the contractor. Blue Point is the company.
So, looking through this, I counted 104 different strobes and warning devices. How is there such a big miss?
I don't know. I guess I don't want to say it's a miss. These are just things that we found. For example, we did a lockdown drill a year and a half ago, maybe, one of the first few that they did, and one of the parapros at Jefferson said, hey, we had a deaf and hard of hearing student who walked out of the bathroom, couldn't hear the notification going over because there's no strobe in the bathroom. They may not think about strobes in bathrooms because there's no requirement for any of this, like fire strobes have to be in certain locations. There's no requirement to have this, and so I think Blue Point doesn't think of, okay, Lakeview has a deaf and hard of hearing population at 3 of their buildings, they house them for the district, or for the county. So that's where we started saying, okay, we need more strobes because we have these students who can't hear the announcements that are going over the PA, so we have to add additional strobes. So that's where that's kind of where it morphed into. Parts of the building that we added on after this was starting to be installed and we had bid it, those weren't included on the corners of some of these buildings. So it was kind of we bid it, and then as we've expanded after the original bid was done, now we're saying, okay, we need these extra locations.
In my mind, I see it as we're bringing in this company that does this professionally for a living.
Correct.
This amount of change, number of strobes, should have been caught by these people and should have been recommended to us.
I think we would
Yeah.
agree.
We've had that conversation, yeah.
Heard us over, and the company heard
Yeah,
us.
that's.
Over several calls over
Yeah.
2 years. How is it that we would have like 100 and some feet between strobes in a hallway that's 300 feet long. You know, that simple, just logical thought process, right?
Larger spaces like gyms and auditoriums where you have one strobe that you might not be able to see because of where it's at. So adding additional strobes based on where our, locker room and exits are in three locations in the main gym at the high school, right? There's only one strobe, and if you're in a spot, you might not be able to see that. So those are the things where, I don't know if the fine tooth comb walkthrough was done. I think it was more of kind of boilerplate, how they did it, because there's no standard, right? If you have a fire strobe, you have to have it every so many feet and it has to be in so locations. This is, I think,
New
learn on the
idea
go.
that is not, as I said this several times to them, Blue Point. I don't know how we are figuring out the realities of this, that when you turn a corner, you don't have any strobe in this 40 feet of hall. And somebody could be standing in that 40 feet of hall or in that, area or whatever. It seems like at a minimum, in eye line of sight, you would have a strobe in every position that you'd have an line of sight. So.
Well, I just wanted to add, going back to that specific example you gave of the deaf and hard of hearing student at was it Jefferson? I mean, I don't know all of the laws that would surround this. In addition, I mean, the concern I have with that is is that not in compliance with ADA regulations? Like, I feel like if it was a fire strobe and there wasn't one in the bathroom and that situation happened.
Because fire alarms are required in public buildings, school buildings.
Right.
This is not.
And so, but if it's an added safety feature that all of the rest of the students can access, or can use their senses to access, but someone's got a disability and they can't access it. And I understand that this is a problem that's been discussed, but I guess my concern would be like if Blue Point is not cognizant of these things, that's an issue.
And I don't think they really have that foresight to say, oh, you have a building that has a large population of deaf and hard of hearing students, because they're thinking school building, they're not thinking of DHH population, right? They're not thinking of that. And that's the conversations that we've had, and.
I mean, frankly, they should.
They should.
That is my concern, because when you're talking about a service for like a public institution, it should involve everyone that's in the public.
Right. And that's why we're adding these, because it's kind of like having an AED out here. If you don't have AEDs in your building, you're less liable than if you have an AED out there where the battery doesn't work, or you don't have pads on it, because you're not maintaining it. So we have this Blue Point system we've installed, but if we have the ability, like you said, where a student is in a bathroom and this Blue Point strobe goes off, at least DHH kids know, okay, there's something, I'm going to secure myself in a stall or whatever, versus walking out and they're going to say, wait a minute, now we're more liable if we don't act to protect these kids, because we have this system in here. So that's why we're constantly reviewing these things of, okay, where are you not hearing, where can you not see, and that's pushed out to staff every time they do a Blue Point drill.
Yeah. I mean, and I don't know how maintaining the Blue Point system works, but if this is something that's a continuous issue where Blue Point is, there's a ton of oversights, that's concerning. And I feel like if there was another company that has a higher standard that could maintain it,
Well, we've got.
Actually, we're already doing that.
Shoreline, we're going to enter into a preventive maintenance agreement with them, similar to what we do with like William Walter, who does our HVAC stuff. They will come in once a year, change all the batteries, check all batteries in pull stations, make sure they're all changed, they're all working. So it's kind of like once a year, they're going to come in and make sure if you push that strobe or that pendant in this room, it's going to go off, because if the battery's dead, because they told us batteries last about a year, because they're constantly pinging back to the location to say, hey, I'm active, if it's working. When the battery goes dead, Shoreline has the ability to say, here's all the things in your building that are the batteries are dead, they're not functioning.
So, and that would be like, once Blue Point adds these additional.
This will be part of their whole pack. We're gonna sign it, we're gonna get them going on it ASAP, like we've got the service agreement they sent us, we've reviewed it. We have to sign it, send it back now. So they will come in, and it'll be once a year, typically July or August. I know we're kind of getting off topic of this, but it's connected because you're asking the question about maintenance, and that's what we want to do, because, again, if it doesn't function right, what good's the use of having a pull station or a pendant that doesn't work?
Right, makes sense.
You know, like I said, my concern was, 104 endpoints or strobes. That's a big miss in my eyes. So, any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Item B, bid pack number 12, Shaublin Auditorium HVAC chiller replacement.
Tonight, administration recommending award of contractors for bid package number 12 related to the replacement of the Lakeview High School Shaublin Auditorium HVAC chiller. The chiller provides air conditioning in the auditorium and adjacent classrooms, including the band room, which is used on a daily basis. The current chiller is at the end of useful life, and the ability to get parts for any repairs is no longer possible as the manufacturer has stopped making parts for this system. Early in September, this bid package was advertised and bidders were solicited as law and district policy requires. Ultimately, 4 bid proposals were submitted in 2 categories on October 3rd when they were publicly opened and read aloud. Administration was assisted by Barton Mallow Builders and Partners in Architecture in evaluating the proposals and conducting post-bid reviews with the apparent low bidders. Both Barton Mallow Builders and Partners in Architecture are in agreement, and the following contracts are being recommended for award in the amount of $369,665. And Barton Mallow is still here if you have any questions.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the bid award amounts totaling $369,665 for the replacement of the Lakeview High Shaublin Auditorium HVAC chiller.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Martin. Discussion on the motion.
And remember what it was like when we did our board meeting in the auditorium? And it was really stuffy and we had the tubes running in? That's what we're replacing it. That's the chiller that makes it cool in there.
What's the timeline of this?
Well, Jade, has everybody met Jade? Jade is from Barton Mallow. He is replacing Mr. McKay. So he is kind of stepping in and hit the ground running already. So what's kind of the timeline so far?
Background, I've worked in a couple different districts, Warren, Con, Oxford, Warren Woods, so some neighboring, so I'm familiar with school districts and bonds. When we post-bid them, we got a competitive price for 2 different manufacturers, and the one that was low is about a 20-week lead, which kind of puts us in the springtime. So once we know we're in effect of that, we're going to take down that system and start replacing it. So ideally, it would be before the end of school, June. So between that March, June phase, we'll work on replacing that unit.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we have
We're swagging it here at this point then, right? Is what you're telling me.
It'll go down in the fall, obviously, because there's no chilling. But I'll work with Sean on a detailed schedule and make sure we're transparent as we go through that, coordinate with the district and the principal, getting to learn names and stuff like that. So
Cool. Yeah, because you probably heard that we've had a string of misses here as far as timelines.
absolutely. I'm digging my way through stuff, and I'm getting to learn the district, so we'll do what we can
All right.
to improve on it.
We appreciate that.
Also, we have our student recognition in the auditorium. Will it be done before that? Do you know what the date is on that?
I'm aware of.
We have to approve that in January, but it's typically the end of May.
Yeah, we've also talked about if there is some sort of a delay in getting the materials, about bringing in possibly a temporary system. We haven't gotten much deep into that, and it's not the tubes that are coming in, it's actually hooking like a semi-trailer up and actually running something to circulate the air and get that space functional the way it need to be. So we've had those initial discussions with Martin Mallow, but we haven't gotten into any type of,
Would that be using our ductwork or running?
it's not going to be ductwork. It's going to hook, as far as I know, hook right up to the existing HVAC system and run it through what we've currently got. So just basically an exterior chiller that you'd bring in, for lack of a better term, for
So we have a plan
simplistically.
B. Okay.
We do have a Plan B and a Plan C. Hopefully, we don't need any other plans other than Plan A.
I think Mr. Zaborowski has seen enough of these misses where he's planning this out already. and he's
Yeah.
going for it, so, all right, cool. Thank you. Any other comments? Hearing none, all those in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, gentlemen. It was nice meeting you. We look forward to working with you. All right, lastly, we have two under other requests for closed sessions. We'll take the roll call, or take the votes for the roll call going into closed sessions first, and then we'll take it the next step. First, other A, request for closed session, student expulsion, long-term suspension recommendation 2024-25AA.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the request for closed session to consider a student expulsion, long-term suspension for student 2024-25AA.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Martin. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bear?
Aye.
Ms. Martin, yes. Mr. Miners?
Aye.
Mr. Asha?
Yes.
And Mr. Miskelly?
Yes.
And Mr. Dombrowski?
Aye. Okay, next we have the request for closed session, student expulsion, long-term suspension recommendation 2024-25DH.
Mr. President, I move that the Board of Education approve the request for closed session to consider a student expulsion, long-term suspension for student 2024-25DH.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Bear, support by Ms. Martin. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Bear?
Aye.
Ms. Martin? Aye. Mr. Miners?
Aye.
Mr. Asha?
Yes.
Mr. Miskelly?
Yes.
Mr. Dombrowski?
Aye. Okay, what we've done is we've taken action to go into closed session for each of these two separately. What we're going to do right now, for the record, it is 8:42. And we will go into recess and reconvene in closed session at 8:50. That's an 8-minute recess, and at that point in time, I ask that the parent guardians regarding 2024-25AA be in the boardroom at 8:50, please. We're in recess. Hello, Robin.
Hello.
Can we go on teeter